Hi. Okay, we're going to finish with talking about conclusions. I'm going to pull up that PowerPoint here. There we go. And let's finish talking about conclusions. So we talked about introductions and all the pieces to introduction. You're all clear on that. Now we previewed our points. We moved into the body, had this whole discussion explanation about the body of the speech. And now we're getting ready to conclude the speech. Here's the thing about concluding the speech. You don't need to say at the very end of the speech when you've finished talking, I'm done with my speech. Let's just not say that, okay? You could say thank you for listening to me if you want, but you don't need to say any of that. You can just we're going to find a way that you're going to include the speech, and let's talk about what that looks like. It's less complicated, but just as important as the introduction. Okay. As you get ready to move in your speech, we need to know that you're ending your speech. This is called an internal summary. Okay? It's basically how you're going to signpost for us. It's called signposting. Letting us know, right? Creating a sign, not a literal sign, but a verbal sign that you're coming to the end of the speech. You basically, when we say internal summary, it's within the body of the speech. At the end of the speech, you're going to remind us what you want us to remember about the speech. Oftentimes, it's as simple as reminding us about the main points, what you discussed. So if I just gave a speech about the sunflower at the end, I would say, now you have a greater understanding of why, now that we just finished talking about the sunflower as a symbol of happiness, now you have a greater understanding of both it as a symbol, as a source of food for both human beings, bees, and birds. And finally, my first point, the first thing I discussed was the sunflower as both a weed and a flower. Okay, I just went through and that was my internal summary. I just summarized like the main points of what I want you to remember about my speech. There it is. I was having trouble finding my arrow right there. Okay. Summarize your 3 main points. I said that before I move into that. So this is important. We need to hear this. It's just like when you're writing an essay and you move into toward the end of your essay, you need to kind of tie it up for us. That's what the clincher is going to be, but you're reminding us what it is that we talked about. What's the main gist of what we talked about? And usually when we have a speech that has 3 main points, then you're going to remind us of those 3 main points. I'm having so much trouble with this little arrow today. Okay, the clincher. The clincher is just like your attention getter, really similar. You can use it the same way. But the clincher is, how are you going to bring that speech all together? How are you going to really help the audience remember? How do you clinch it? How do you put it? See how I have that a knot there? How do you tie it all together and help us remember? Sometimes it's in a story. Sometimes it's in a quotation. Sometimes you leave it with a song. It can be a brief story, provocative statement, statistic. Maybe you're leaving with statistic, a quotation. Maybe you started out, excuse me, you started out your speech with the statistics. Let's say your speech was about child abuse. One of my students gave a great speech about child abuse, and she started with a statistic about child abuse. And I don't know whether she ended with that, but that was a good attention grabber because the statistic was really provocative and not something we would have normally thought of or realized. And if you started with something like that, then you could end with something, another statistic, or remind us what that statistic is and how it's important that we be part of the solution if you're doing a persuasive speech of why it's important for us to change that statistic from going from 56% to 0%. I'm making this up, but for example, you can end it with a poem. Again, all these things are helping us to remember your speech. So remember, they have to be related. It can't be just this poem like a love poem. Let's say you're talking about racism and in your speech with a love poem. Well, the love poem better have something to do with racism. Okay? It can't be just from a Black Lives Matter activist unless that poem is about Black Lives Matter. You with me? So it has to be related to your topic in some way. It can be music. I think I'm just about done here. Oops, let's go back. Sorry about that. And it can be physical movement. So I say physical movement because you could. I had a student give a speech on the whip and the nay nay, but you're all laughing about that right now because whenever I say that in class, students laugh. And he actually did the speech, like he did, showed us how to do this move. I didn't even know when he said whip and nay nay. This was like 5 years ago, I think. He said that, and I thought, what's he talking about? And everybody laughed. Remember, I told you how I don't know, like I'm not always up on the latest information. Anyway, I didn't know what that was, and then I learned what it was. You could end it with a physical movement. Let's say you're giving a speech. Maybe your speech is what's really pop? It's not flamenco. It's popular Mexican dancing right now, and I can't think. It's in the back of my mind. Folklorico. There it is. Folklorico. It was coming. It was coming. Maybe your speech is about folklorico and you're a dancer of folklorico, and that's part of your major identity. And your symbol is maybe you wear your outfit and when you give your speech. So at the end of your speech, maybe you do a little dance, right? Or maybe your personal symbol is a guitar and you've held this guitar as your personal symbol because that's your love. Like your guitar reminds you of you, and it's a way you really communicate with you. And at the end, you play a couple, play a tune or play a couple lines from a song you wrote, or you play some chords. Okay, so that's how you can end it. That brings it all together. You have a lot of choices. They're not limited to these. These are just examples. So I'm going to finish here. I'm going to come back to me now and say to you that try to have fun with this. Try to have fun with your speeches. Now I'm giving this to you now, and this is going to go toward your next speech, unless you watch this video before this first speech is due. But the point is, try to enjoy what you're doing. Use these tools. I'm adding to your toolbox. Now you know about kind of how to do outlining. You have an idea of how to do an introduction conclusion. You have the idea about main points. We haven't talked about supporting materials yet. We're going to get to that. The next lecture I'm going to give is about delivery. My expectations for your first speech are low. I don't expect you guys to know how to do this as your first time. Allow yourself to have fun with this. Allow yourself to try to have fun with this course and give yourself an opportunity to express yourself, hopefully, in the way that you never have. Okay, until next time, I will see you as soon as I find that arrow. There it is. I will see you then and have a great day. Bye-bye.